politically uneasy peace it is. Beneath the deceptive veneer, the Holy Land under Herod the Great is seething with discontent, particularly in the Jewish population. Herod lives in constant fear of revolt. The Gospel of Matthew tells us that upon hearing rumors of the birth of the Messiah, Herod decides to eliminate this threat. Unable to single out the Christ child, he orders that all children in and around Bethlehem that are under the age of 2 be killed. The Bible tells us that many infants are murdered that night. Although no other historical source refers to this event, it will forever be known as the slaughter of the innocents. Joseph, warned in a dream by an angel, takes Mary and the infant Jesus out of Bethlehem and into the land of the Pharaohs. The little family remains in Egypt for a year, saving Jesus from what would have been certain death. We now return to the Galilee. Joseph, back from Egypt, settles his family in Nazareth, a small, obscure country village. What becomes of the babe and his parents at this time is not known. There are no written accounts.
We can only surmise, and I think it's safe basically to do this, what his life would have been like during those years. And based on our reconstructions of Galilee, we can see that he would have probably apprenticed with his family, he would have learned a skill, he would have started to form his opinions and his judgments that are given expression in the Gospels.
And so a young Galilean boy grows up on his way to an inexorable destiny. This is the Church of St. Gabriel in Nazareth. Jesus might have played on this ground as a boy. Since the Gospels themselves remain largely silent about the young Jesus, what can we know about this stage of his development?
When I envision Jesus of Nazareth, I see a simple Galilean Jew who had a very traditional upbringing in a small hamlet, Nazareth, where there was a Jewish community, whose first language was Aramaic and Hebrew, and as a young adult learned Greek to the extent that he could use it in marketplace and say some sayings and make some meaningful exchanges in Greek language. But he was a Semitic speaker.
There is a mysterious 18-year gap in the Gospels concerning the story of Jesus, the so-called lost years. When we next meet Jesus, he is 30 years old and about to embark on the central drama of his life. We are back in the ageless hills of the Galilee. In continuing to track his footsteps, the only direct sources are the 4 Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the first 4 books of the New Testament. In 1945, however, all this seems to change with a dramatic discovery at Nag Hammadi in Egypt's Nile Valley. It is possibly a 5th Gospel, the Book of Thomas, and it stuns the world. The original 4 Gospels were written at least 40 years after the death of Christ. The newly discovered Book of Thomas, however, seems likely to have been written earlier. Could it be what the Gospels are not? An eyewitness account?
Because the Gospel of Thomas has no narrative in it, doesn't say anything about the crucifixion or the resurrection. It assumes that Jesus is alive. It talks about Jesus as a living one, and then just makes of his importance, namely these things he said.
While its authenticity is still open to question, the Book of Thomas does give us a Jesus who seems